Our story takes place at Zhangyang University, where our protagonist, Shen, a second-generation rich kid, steps out of his supercar, flaunting his wealth in front of everyone. Not only does he arrive in style, but he's also dating the university's second-year goddess from the flight attendant class. Onlookers can hardly believe that Shen, who has just hardly started his college, is already involved with such a prominent beauty. Naturally, when someone is both wealthy and attractive, they tend to have first choice in partners. In Shen's case, it's more than just first choice. He practically has a monopoly. Numerous first-year goddesses are head over heels for him, and ordinary students figure they'll stay single throughout college. After all, who wouldn't want to date a second-generation rich kid? However, Shen's lavish, spendthrift lifestyle, envied by everyone, comes to an abrupt end during his junior year. His family's 3 travel agencies go bankrupt, leaving them with $1 million in debt. Those who once called him Big Brother and surrounded him every day now refuse to even look at him. One by one, his old fair-weather friends disappear, shunning him as if he's plagued. His parents and sister are squeezed into a small rented apartment, and Shen, who used to show up to college in a luxury car, finds himself moving back into a dorm. With things as they are, the carefree life he once knew is gone. He's not even sure if he can afford a decent existence anymore. Then comes another blow. His girlfriend Zoe breaks up with him. She tells Shen not to contact her again and hopes he finds a more suitable partner. Shen is shocked. After 3 years together, she's ending things so abruptly. Zoe explains there was never any real love between them and that they were only together for convenience. She also warns him never to call her Ting again, wishing to cut all ties. With that, she gets into a friend's car, which has come to pick her up. Shen forces a smile and stops her, asking her to return the designer bags he bought for her, since she apparently won't need them anymore. Outraged, Zhou accuses him of being shameless. She points out that all he ever gave her were a few crappy bags, yet now he wants them back. Shen calmly responds that if she refuses to return them, they can't truly break up. Gritting her teeth, Zhou looks ready to explode, but her companion in the car urges her not to let it bother her. But not once. The older man beckons Ting to get in the car and then asks Shen if he needs a ride. Shen is infuriated that this man dares to call her Ting, a nickname she refused to let Shen use. He curtly declines the ride, saying his dorm is close by. The man advises Shen not to take the breakup too seriously and even offers to drive him home for his safety. Shen, suspecting they think he's a fool, insists he's fine. He tells the man that Zhou Wanting is a good woman and to take care of her in the future. After all, men should give women the best. Then, as a final jab, Shen reveals some of Wanting's private preferences. She loves Okamoto 1 condoms, prefers regular stockings over fancy ones because they're more comfortable, and especially enjoys nurse and police uniforms in bed. Enraged, the man quickly drives off. As Shen watches them leave, he wonders if Zoe made the right decision for herself, and hopes her choice leads her to a better life. Just as he contemplates how to rebuild his own, a mysterious system window appears before him. Confused and alarmed, he wonders if he's dying or hallucinating. The window explains that it's the perfect life system. If Shen spends money on female partners, he'll be reimbursed triple the amount. The system initiates a time-limited task, instructing him to spend money on a woman who's of suitable age, has an affinity level over 60, and to earn her admiration. If he succeeds, his expenditures will return to him multiplied by 3, and if her affinity rises by 3 points, his refund will double again. The only requirement is that the money must come from Shen's own savings or cash. Shen is stunned, unsure whether to believe this is real or just a prank. Before he can think further, his teacher, Li Xiao, calls out to him. She's heard about the breakup and tells him not to let it stress him. After all, it's just a breakup. She offers a comforting thought: if it's over, it's over. The next one will be better. Encouraging him that he can find someone far better than Zhou, she notices Shen seems distracted. Shen then realizes he can see numbers, like an affinity level, floating above Professor Li's head, and it dawns on him that the perfect life system might actually be real. Managing an awkward smile, he tells Li Xiao that he's fine. Seeing his improved mood, she mentions the scholarship she had spoken about before and offers to help him, should he be interested. Shen tells Professor Li that a few thousand yuan is just a drop in the bucket compared to his family's massive debts, and it would be better to give the scholarship to someone who truly needs it. Professor Li nods and assures Shen that if he ever faces any issues in the future, whether it's about love or anything else, he can come to her any time. With that, she heads back to class. Meanwhile, Shen decides to test whether he can really earn a triple refund through the Perfect Life System's time-limited task by spending money on Professor Lee. He stops her before she leaves, thanks her for caring about him, and buys her a milk tea. Checking his phone afterward, he notices his original balance was 87 yuan. After spending 6 on the milk tea, he had 81 left. Suddenly, he receives 18 yuan in income, bringing his balance to 99 yuan. This confirms the refund is real. As long as Professor Lee's affinity remains above 60, Shen can keep spending on her and continually receive refunds. Excited by this opportunity, he starts thinking about how to use it to pay off his family's debts. If he plays his cards right, his family might end up even richer than before. However, he only has 99 yuan in actual capital, which isn't enough. Over the next few days, he scrapes together 8,000 yuan by selling gold bars, borrows another 20,000 yuan, secures a 21,585 yuan business loan, and still has his original 99 yuan, totaling 49,684 yuan. He decides to buy Professor Lee an expensive gift. Since she sees him as a poor student from a bankrupt family, he needs a plausible reason for her to accept it. He chooses a 39,800 yuan handbag from the latest spring collection and plans to tell Professor Lee he got it from a knockoff deal, so it didn't cost much. Without wasting any time, Shen heads to Professor Lee's place. He worries that she might have a boyfriend, but he still knocks on her door. Professor Lee answers, surprised to see him, and asks what he's doing there. Shen notices she's in the middle of cooking and quickly apologizes for disturbing her at home. He explains that, for 3 years, she has taken care of him like any good teacher would, but only now does he realize how precious her support has been. As a small token of gratitude, he offers her the handbag. Professor Lee immediately recognizes it as something quite expensive and insists there's no need. After all, it's her job to support her students, and she treats all of them the same. Shen assures her it's just a cheap knockoff, costing only about 2,000 yuan, and reminds her of his own family's situation. He could never afford anything truly expensive. He emphasizes that it's just a small sign of his appreciation and asks her to accept it. Seeing how earnest he is, Professor Lee realizes that refusing the gift might hurt Shen's feelings, especially after his recent breakup. She finally accepts and tells Shen she'll return the favor on a holiday or his birthday. Suddenly, the stir-fry on the stove begins to burn. Professor Lee rushes back into the kitchen and invites Shen inside, asking him to stay for dinner. Shen jumps at this opportunity, but he politely inquires if her boyfriend would mind him staying over. He also needs to be near Professor Lee to maintain her affinity and earn more refunds from the system. Just then, Shen's phone shows a deposit of 119,400 yuan, his triple refund for the 39,800 yuan bag. Subtracting the cost, he's made nearly 80,000 yuan profit. Although Shen has spent that much money before, earning it on his own feels entirely different. Lost in thought, he's startled when Professor Lee returns to tell him to sit down for dinner. He composes himself and casually asks if her boyfriend will be joining them. Surprised, Professor Lee replies that she doesn't have a boyfriend at all. At that moment, she struggles to remove her kitchen apron. Shen offers to help, but Professor Lee politely insists it's unnecessary. He persists, saying he'll have it fixed in no time, when suddenly Professor Li Xiao's younger sister, Li Meng, appears and shouts, "What are you two doing?" Startled, Shen jumps back and hurriedly explains they weren't doing anything improper. Professor Li smiles and asks her sister why she's home so late, before introducing Shen to Li Meng as one of her students. Shen awkwardly greets Li Meng, but she coldly replies that she's not in the mood to chat. Realizing the sudden tension, Shen quickly turns to Professor Lee and claims he already ate before coming over, so he's heading back to campus. Professor Lee, confused, reminds him he was just about to sit down for dinner a moment ago. However, Li Meng cuts in, warning her sister that this boy is up to no good. Professor Lee dismisses her sister's worry, insisting that Shen is simply her student, and invites her to sit down for dinner instead. As Shen leaves, he wonders who he should spend money on next to continue earning his system refunds. His teacher is strictly a student-teacher relationship. She's nothing like Zhou Wanning, who was only after money. While pondering this, Shen bumps into his roommate, Lao Huang, who looks upset. Shen asks him what's wrong, and Lao Huang reveals that his goddess, Feng Minwei, one of the prettiest sophomores in the International Trade Department, went to see a movie with Li Zhanpeng. Shen remembers that Lao Huang's affection for Feng Minwei has always been one-sided. They've never spoken or had any real relationship. Seeing Shen's expression, Lao Huang accuses him of making fun of him, but Shen assures him he's not. He gently reminds Lao Huang that someone like Feng Minwei is out of his reach. Just then, they spot Feng Minwei and her friend. Lao Huang breathes a sigh of relief, realizing that Feng Minwei only went to the movies with Li Zanpeng. They didn't go to a hotel. Watching Lao Huang get so worked up, Shen silently worries that his friend is losing all dignity in his pursuit of a girl. He doubts things will end well for him. But when Shen gets a closer look at Feng Minwei, he's taken aback. Her principles appear even stricter than Professor Li's. Meanwhile, Feng Minwei's friend points Shen out to her, mentioning that he recently got dumped by his girlfriend. She recalls how, during their basic training at the start of the semester, she had even encouraged Minwei to get close to Shen or buy him drinks. Now, however, she regrets suggesting that. Apparently, wealthy guys like him often have bad attitudes. It's understandable for someone to act a bit arrogantly when they're loaded, but Shen supposedly remained just as cocky even after his family went bankrupt. She speculates that might be why his girlfriend left him. From a distance, Shen sees that Minwei's affection level for him is initially quite high, and he's thrilled he might have found someone who thinks well of him, potentially bringing more profit through his system. Suddenly, though, her affection plummets when her friend fills her in on the rumors. Shen realizes he can't just stand by. He needs to act quickly. Turning to his roommate, Lao Huang, Shen asks if he'd be upset if Shen and Feng Minwei ended up together. Knowing Shen no longer has the wealth or sports car he once did, Lao Huang merely shrugs and says he wouldn't mind. As long as Minwei isn't with Li Zanpeng, it doesn't matter who she dates. Encouraged, Shen immediately follows after Minwei, determined to seize the moment. Catching up to her, Shen calls her name. Minwei blushes upon seeing him, but her friend steps in and demands to know what he wants. Shen calmly asks if Minwei is free tomorrow. He has booked a table at Sing Sushi and would like her to join him. Minwei's friend is surprised, remarking that Sing Sushi is a Japanese restaurant where a single meal can cost over 1,000 yuan per person. Shen explains that he's simply hoping Minwei can help him choose a birthday gift for his sister, and tells her to let him know by noon the next day if she's available. With that, he heads back to his dorm. After he leaves, Minwei asks her friend if it's all right for her to have just watched a movie with Li Zanpeng one day and then go to dinner with Shen Wen the next. Her friend insists there's nothing wrong with it, it's just dinner and a stroll, no big deal. Besides, the food at Sing Sushi is top-notch. She points out that while Shen might seem a bit arrogant, he's at least handsome, whereas Li Zanpeng only has his family's money. If Shen's family recovers financially, he'll easily surpass Li Zanpeng. Minwei agrees in the end. The next day, she goes out with Shin for dinner at Sing Sushi. Over the meal, Minwei gently brings up his family's current financial troubles, saying he doesn't need to spend so much. Shin tells her not to worry. Splurging occasionally for good food is worth it. Minwei then asks why he invited her to dinner out of the blue. Is it really just for help picking out a birthday gift? Or is there another reason? Nervous, Shen assures her it isn't a big deal. He's wanted to treat her to dinner for a while, but never found the right moment. Initially satisfied, Minwei's affection level mysteriously starts to drop again. Sensing that, Shen quickly changes the subject. He reminds her how, during basic training, she often brought him drinks and they used to chat on WeChat late into the night, and how he misses those carefree days. Recalling that time, Minhui's fondness for him rises rapidly. 40 minutes later, dinner ends, and Shen pays the 2,774 yen bill. To his relief, Minhui's affection level increases significantly once again. Minhui can't believe that her monthly budget is only 3,000 yuan, yet this one meal has already cost almost a month's worth of her expenses. She recalls how, when she went to the movies with Li Zunpeng, he insisted on eating first at the school cafeteria and saving an actual restaurant visit for next time. Despite his family's wealth, he's so stingy. Just then, Shen receives a system notification. He has triggered a time-limited task. He must spend money on a person of the opposite sex with an affinity level above 60 and win their admiration. If he successfully completes the task, he will be refunded 3 times the amount he spends. Furthermore, for every 3 increase in that person's affinity, the total refund will be doubled. Shen notices Min Hui's affinity level steadily rising, and the thought of earning a quick 10,000 yuan from a single meal excites him. Meanwhile, Minhui feels increasingly happy. The more she looks at Shen, the more she likes him, even if it's partly due to his money. She grabs Shen's hand and urges him to go to the mall to pick out a gift for his sister. A short while later, they arrive at a shopping mall. Shen spots Zhou Wanting and her new boyfriend. Zhou sees him as well, shocked that he's already out with someone else so soon after their breakup. Her new boyfriend grows irritated. How dare a supposedly poor student like Shen spend money in a place like this, when he himself has had to buy so many bags for Zhou just to win her over? And here Shen is, broke and in debt, yet still attracting women. Seeing Zhou again, Shen initially thinks about avoiding her, but Zhou's boyfriend seizes the chance to ridicule him. He suggests they all go inside, pointing out that window shopping costs nothing. Unfazed, Shen explains he's there to buy a gift for his sister, nothing more. Zhou's boyfriend laughs, telling him to try the wholesale market instead. This mall is surely out of his price range. Zhou then approaches Manhwa, warning her not to be fooled by Shen, who, according to her, is no longer a rich heir, but just a poor student. Shen intervenes, stating that he has never deceived anyone, and that Zhou should stop talking nonsense. Zhou's boyfriend steps forward and tells Shen not to speak to her that way, reminding him that everyone knows Shen's family has gone bankrupt, so there's no need to pretend he's still rich. Shen, disgusted, silently notes that these two really do deserve each other. Suddenly, Shen receives another time-limited task from the system. He must spend money on a person of the opposite sex with an affinity level over 60 and cause other people's negative emotions to rise. For every 5-point increase in others' negative emotions directly caused by him, the system will double the amount refunded for his spending on that opposite sex individual. This new task can be combined with the original refund task. Shen can't believe his luck. He'd been prepared to leave them some dignity, but since they insist on provoking him, and now that the system has issued this quest, why not oblige? He grabs Manhwa's hand and heads inside the store. A sales associate with black hair tells her colleague to attend to Shen Yan, explaining that he used to be a regular customer. The colleague, however, objects. She sees no point in serving a bankrupt ex-rich kid. The last time a fake socialite came in, she dragged them around, sampled everything, and left without buying a thing. She doesn't want to deal with that again. Just then, Zhou Wanting picks out a luxury bag and asks her boyfriend Jun to pay, making sure Shen notices. The black-haired sales associate immediately attends to Zhou Wanting, while the other associate looks on in frustration. She can't believe all the high-spending customers always go to her colleague, leaving her with the supposedly difficult ones. The first sales associate praises Zhou Wanting's excellent taste. Meanwhile, Shen tells Manhwa not to worry about money and to choose whatever she thinks his sister would like. Manhwa points out a stylish, high-quality bag she's certain his sister will love. However, the sales associate standing nearby warns Shen that the bag and matching accessories cost over 50,000 yuan, a hefty amount for someone whose family is rumored to be bankrupt. On the other side of the store, Jun starts to sweat. He thought a 20,000 yuan bag would be enough for Zhou Wanting, but now she wants a full set worth 100,000 yuan. Zhou whispers in his ear, telling him to pay up. After all, Shen is watching, and she wants Jun to show his strength as her boyfriend. The problem is Jun doesn't have enough on his card. Just then, Shen tells the sales associate he'll take both bags and the accessories the other miss recommended. Zhou Wanting, Jun Manhwa, and the initially skeptical sales associate are all stunned. Nervously, the associate calculates the total and announces it's 131,000 yuan. Shen smiles, remembering he has exactly that amount left after his refund from dinner. He hands over his card and pays in full. The sales associate is thrilled. She never expected broke Mr. Shen to purchase over 130,000 yuan's worth of goods, making a single sale that large. Zhou Wanting, furious, demands to know where Shen got the money. Wasn't he supposed to be bankrupt? Jun accuses Shen of possibly taking out a loan just to show off. Shen replies that they can believe whatever they want, then suggests Jun buy another bag for Zhou if he wants to impress her, pointing out that 20,000 yuan should be nothing for someone who drives a car worth at least 600,000 or 700,000. Zhu Zhaowan, glaring at Jun, urges him to show that arrogant brat who's boss. But Jun, who secretly bought his luxury car on a loan, uses an important call as an excuse and slips away. Infuriated, Zhu Wan gives Shen a parting glare and warns him to take care of himself. By this point, Shen's system indicates that the negative emotion levels he needed to trigger for the task have reached the target. Arguing further would be pointless. He's already met the requirement. Shen then offers one of the luxury bags to Manhwa, who initially refuses, protesting that it's too expensive. Shen insists it's nothing, just a small apology for all the nasty remarks she had to endure. Reluctantly, Manhwa accepts. She's confused about whether the gifts weren't supposed to be for Shen's sister. Shen casually excuses himself, saying he doubts his sister would like these particular styles, and besides, she'd scold him for splurging and then tell their parents. He confesses he actually intended these bags for Manhwa from the start. Manhwa blushes, worried that accepting so much will make her look like a gold digger. Shen tells her not to overthink it. This is only the beginning, and they have plenty of time ahead. Finally, Manhwa agrees to accept everything. At that moment, the system sends Shen a congratulatory notification for completing the limited time task. It shows he generated 15 points of negative emotion, tripling the amount spent, and combined with the triple refund for spending on a woman with an affinity above 60, the total refund has increased sixfold. He receives 786,000 yuan in his bank account. Shen takes Manhwa's hand, thinking, Manhwa is now my golden goose. I need to take good care of her and keep her affection level from dropping. He then suggests they head back to school as it's getting late. Although he wants to spend more time with her, he knows it's best to let things progress naturally. Later, in the boys' dormitory, Shen runs into Li Zanpeng boasting to his friends about Fong Manhwa. His friends urge Li Zanpeng to celebrate and treat them to dinner. Li Zanpeng agrees, deciding to invite the entire class and throw a huge party, mostly to make Shen jealous. Shen couldn't care less. He simply heads back to his room. Once there, one of his friends tells him more about Li Zanpeng's bragging. Apparently, after Li Zanpeng took the flower of their course to the movies, he now wants everyone at school to know. Shen responds by saying not to worry. He believes Manhwa won't go with Li Zanpeng again. His friend scoffs, pointing out that Manhwa did go to the movies with Li Zanpeng the previous night, and who knows what else might have happened. Plus, she didn't agree to meet Li Zanpeng today, which might mean she's still considering him. Shen remains unfazed, confident that Manhwa won't choose Li Zanpeng. Right now, Shen has more than enough money anyway, so he decides to pay a visit to his home. The next day at Shen Yuan's house, Shen's uncle Yao De drops by to meet with Shen's parents. Shen's father asks his uncle to wait a moment as they talk. It turns out Uncle Yao De is here to demand repayment of the money he lent to Shen's family. He claims he needs it urgently in the coming days to cover his own expenses. Shen's mother becomes furious, reminding him that when he didn't have money to start his car wash, they lent him 300,000 yuan without pressuring him for repayment. Yet now, because the family recently borrowed 200,000 yuan from him during their crisis, he keeps hounding them for the money. Shen's father tries to calm his wife, suggesting that perhaps his brother genuinely has difficulties of his own. However, Shen's mother retorts that she spoke to Uncle Yode's wife, who said they had no urgent expenses. Uncle Yode insists that paying back debts is normal and that, if they were strangers, the family would have already faced aggressive debt collection methods. Shen's mother is livid that he'd go so far as to threaten them with violent collection tactics, given how much they've helped him in the past. Seeing the argument escalate, Shen's father tells his wife to bring out her gold jewelry, sell it, and use the proceeds to pay off the family's debts. Shen, witnessing this scene, suddenly receives a system notification, a time-limited task to pay off family or personal debts. If he completes this task, the amount he pays off will be doubled as a refund. Moreover, the first time he pays 200,000 yuan, he'll receive a special reward of 1 million yuan, specifically for a luxury car purchase. Shen is both surprised and relieved. This task couldn't have come at a better time. Even if the system hadn't prompted him, he already planned to help reduce his family's financial burden that day. Meanwhile, Shen's mother gathers all the jewelry Shen's father ever gave her. No matter how hard times got, she never sold them before. Although they're only worth a few thousand yuan, they're priceless to her. As she looks through the pieces carefully, she notices 2 gold rings missing. She and her husband wonder if the rings got lost during the move. Outside the room, Shen overhears their conversation and feels embarrassed. It was he who took and sold those 2 gold rings in his first year of college because he didn't have enough money to buy Zhou wanting a bag at the time. Back then, I was such a jerk, he thinks. He steps inside and tells his parents that he has the money they need. His mother and father don't believe him, insisting he shouldn't joke around. They remind him of how bad their situation is, urging him instead to just top up his campus cafeteria card with whatever pocket money he might have. But Shen insists he's serious. To prove it, he transfers a sum into his father's bank account. Shocked to see 200,000 yuan arrive, his parents demand to know where the money came from. Shen can't tell them about the system, so he makes up a story. He used to have a decent allowance, invested it in cryptocurrency with a friend, never touched it, and it recently went up tenfold. His parents are thrilled. With this amount, they can pay off Uncle Yao's debt and ease some pressure. They give the money to Uncle Yao, and Shen's mother angrily tells him to leave, adding that it'd be better if their families didn't stay in close contact anymore. Uncle Yao, surprised at how quickly they managed to repay him, wonders if Shen's family might be on the verge of prospering again. But with how he behaved today, he realizes they may never get along with him in the future. After completing the system's time-limited task, Shen immediately gets his reward, 400,000 yuan plus 1 million yuan specifically for a car, for a total of 2,186,356 yuan in his bank account. He smiles, thinking that even if he excludes the 1 million yuan set aside for a new car, his net worth has exceeded 1 million yuan, all while helping his parents through a tough time. Still, he knows his family's debts are nowhere near resolved. Even if he handed over every yuan he currently has, it wouldn't be enough. The best plan is to use his capital to make more money. For now, he only gives 200,000 yuan to his father. When Shen asks if they urgently need more, his mother says the other debts aren't pressing. His father does request 50,000 yuan, and Shen obliges, recalling with some irony that he used to ask his dad for money in a similar manner. On his way back to school, Shen unexpectedly runs into Professor Li. He asks why she's off campus, and she explains there are no classes that afternoon, so she went out for fresh air. Shen seizes the moment and invites her to dinner, hoping to earn more system income, but notices she isn't alone. Her younger sister, Li Meng, is with her. Li Meng gives Shen a cold, angry stare, which unnerves him. Realizing she seems like his nemesis, Shen quickly excuses himself, claiming he has urgent business on campus. Li Meng remarks to her sister that the guy clearly has ulterior motives, but Professor Li brushes it off, saying even if he did, she wouldn't accept them. As Shen heads back, he's drenched in sweat. He recalls how comfortable it used to be driving around in an air-conditioned car with Zhou Wanting. Then he remembers the system allocated him a special 1 million yuan car fund. Not using it would be disrespectful to the great system, he thinks, and immediately calls Manhwa, asking if she'll join him to check out some cars. She agrees, telling him she's free that afternoon. Her friend teases her about car shopping together already, wondering if they'll end up spending the night together. Manhwa blushes, insisting they aren't even an official couple yet. Her friend laughs it off, saying it doesn't matter. Manhwa is lucky to have found a handsome, wealthy guy, and it's only a matter of time before they're officially dating. Embarrassed, Manhwa tells her friend to quit joking around. 1 hour later, at a high-end car dealership, Shen and Manhwa arrive to look at cars. A salesman approaches and asks which model interests them. The salesman immediately recognizes Manhwa as a former junior schoolmate. Manhwa also remembers him, Qin Yang, the older student who pursued her in high school. Qin Yang greets her enthusiastically, then turns to Shen to ask who he is. Shen introduces himself as Manhwa's classmate. Qin Yang coolly greets Shen and inquires which car he's interested in. Shen points to the dealership's M9 luxury sedan, wanting a closer look. The salesman says they're welcome to see the display model and sit inside if they'd like, but internally, Qin Yang is irritated. The base M9 starts at 500,000 yuan, and with fees, it's over 600,000. This guy's dressed so plainly, he's obviously not loaded. Bringing a girl here just to show off? What a waste of my time. Looking at Manhwa, Qin Yang thinks, she's as beautiful as ever, my high school goddess. But now, I'm different. I'm an elite salesman here, making over 10,000 yuan a month, and I drive a 200,000 yuan Accord. Women are practical. A guy like me is the real catch. He then tries to invite Manhwa to dinner, asking if she's free that evening. Manhwa awkwardly declines, saying she has other plans. Meanwhile, Shin, who's checking out the car interior, asks if they can arrange a test drive. Annoyed at being interrupted, Qin Yang brusquely apologizes and lies that the boss took the test car, so there's no way to test drive today. Shen is surprised, recalling he saw an M9 near the entrance. If Qin Yang can't arrange it, Shen tells him to send someone else who can. He steps out of the car and complains to the receptionist, requesting a different salesperson. A beautiful woman named Chen Na walks over and politely asks how she can help.